Welcome to episode 34 of The Endless Stream, Aidan's Baffling Face Blindness. I'm Aidan, and as usual I'm joined by Brian and Kevin. We are three illustrators, artists, filmmakers, and just all-round shit-talkers. Each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Disney+, Amazon, YouTube, Hulu, Spotify, the cinema. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we're going to talk about it. This week we are looking at Marvel's new film, The Eternals, as well as any and all nerd news or trailers that came along. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to iTunes, giving us a rating review. Anything you can do to help support the Endless Stream is greatly appreciated. On that note, you can head over to Instagram as well and follow us at The Endless Cast, where we put up illustrations to go with each episode and clips. If you have anything you want to say to us, you can do it in the comments, tell us we're wrong, suggest something for us to watch, offer a differing opinion. We interact with the audience over there, so it's as good a place as any to start talking to us. If you want to send us an email, that's also possible. You can send it to theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's jump into the episode. Episode 34 of The Endless Stream. We are now out of Halloween season, so put your pumpkins away, put your spooky skeletons back in your closet.
Or bury them. Bury your skeletons.
Skeletons belong in closets.
With my repressed sexuality.
Tell us more about that.
Can't, it's not Halloween anymore. Spooky season's over. So our first week.
I no longer have to watch horror movies. And of course the first trailer I sent into the Endless Streamcast group this week was a horror movie trailer. I think my brain might have been broken. The Unwelcome. The only thing that brought me to it was Colm Meaney's big Irish head. He is
his beautiful big Irish head.
Aye, it's a jewel on the island. It's a pristine example of the big Irish head. That movie looks what this couple inherit a house in Ireland and it's a fixer-upper, and Colm Meaney and his construction crew come round to fix it, and it kind of goes a bit straw dog. The locals are not happy with these newcomers.
They have to keep the traditions alive of feeding the red cats, did they say?
Red caps? So yeah, there's the threat of Colm Meaney and Hodor.
Yep.
Because Hodor is one of the lads.
Goons, you can say goons.
And goons. And then also the Irish gremlins that need to be fed each night seem to be tearing the house apart at the same time. So they've taken two great genres, the gremlins genre and the locals threatening newcomers genre. And they've mashed them together. And they've used Colm Meaney as the glue. 10 out of 10 we'll watch. What about yourself, Kevin?
Oh yeah, I'll watch it. I think it looks good. I actually think it looks decent. Why not? Plethora of Irish talent.
Yeah, I'm curious who the production company is and that sort of stuff. Does that feel like something we should actually give out in a podcast that's discussing it? We should be able to talk about it. I brought it up in a very cursory fashion.
It doesn't really make
cursory.
It doesn't really make any difference to me who made it, as long as it's good.
Londoners move in to rural Ireland, only to discover malevolent, murderous goblins lurking in the gnarled ancient wood at the foot of their new garden. Directed by John Wright. Locals, yeah.
Wait, what did they say?
Goblins.
Oh, that's rude.
That's racist.
Goblins is our word. Rick Warden as the Red Cap Chief. Okay, so it feels like we're going to meet a whole tribe.
Oh, Red Caps. That's what she said, cats.
February 4th, 2022.
I think I'm doing something that day.
Yeah, Red Caps. Huh? You doing something that day?
Yeah, I'm busy.
Well then, I guess we could move on to the trailer for The Gardener, starring Robert Bronzy Kovacs.
Do we really?
Well, what news do you want to talk about this week?
I'm just saying,
Charles Bronson back from the dead.
Newsworthy.
If I was sitting at a news desk at fucking Sky News, probably not. Actually, that's probably the place where they would talk about this. I was going to say, just like as a podcast, we can talk about any shite we want to, but apparently there's a weird series of films involving an actor that looks the spit of Charles Bronson, and The Gardener is the first of these trailers I've seen. Go and have a look at it if anybody has any affinity for Charles Bronson, and just see how kind of odd this is. I thought it was face replacement at first, and they're not really showing a lot of his face at the start, and then he started doing martial arts, and I thought maybe I caught a glimpse of the wrong person and it's a Jackie Chan movie, because he did the Foreigner, where he was in Ireland. So he's got these weird roles.
That's confusing now.
I was completely confused.
If I was listening and I didn't know what you were talking about, I wouldn't be able to follow that because I would think you're talking about Jackie Chan films.
I was for a moment, then I moved off it. I mean, I guess I could go back onto the fact that like last week my prediction came true and Judy Love got kicked off of Strictly, and this week I think Dan Walker's going to go. Judy just didn't have the time to practice. It's hard to come back after recovering from COVID, you know. It's a lot of sighing going on, guys. You all right?
It's too early for this, Aidan. It's too early.
It's too early for Strictly. It's never too early for Strictly. That's a 7 nights a week
Is
thing.
it 7 nights a week?
Have It Takes Two is on BBC. It Takes Two, where they interview the dancers and celebrities about the process of the show, is 5 nights a week, and then the show is Saturday, Sunday.
That's too much of an investment to anything.
I'm not sure that it is, Kevin, because you can also add on top of that their TikTok feed, which is great, and Joe Suggs does the podcast. He interviews people as well.
Do you consume all of it?
I orbit a lot of the content.
Yes. Wow. Well, I'm not gonna put you down for liking something awful, but I let yourself do that. You do that by yourself.
I got to fill in that blank there where you left. I'm not going to put you down. I'm just going to leave the blank space wherein a put down should go. You think about
what your life has
and
become.
You just fill that with whatever. Your mind is going to make that way worse than anything I could say to you.
Yes, yeah. But there's no, I'm disgusted. But fair. No judgment, whatever.
Your mouth says no judgment, but Brian's eyes say, how do I get off of this call?
I don't even see Brian's eyes.
All right, so we've talked about Unwelcome and The Gardener, and we've covered this week's Strictly update. Guys, I am doing illustrations of each couple as they leave the show, so follow at Sully's Drawn on Instagram to see the weekly updates of Strictly couples. I also had Inktober over there. There's a lot of art going up. Also, at The Endless Cast on Instagram. Give us a follow, hear clips, see drawings. Tell us we're wrong, tell us we're right, tell us what we should watch over on the Instagram account.
Yeah, if you have anything to say, hit us up. We look forward.
Yeah, say it to her face.
We look forward
on social media
to hearing your inquiries.
It was also announced this week that Taika Waititi will be tackling the Incal. We've talked about the Incal before. Brian, you said you've been through the book front to back, but find it batshit crazy and hard to comprehend.
Unreadable. Yeah, I saw
How do you think Taika's going to do?
I saw some artists talk about this on Twitter just yesterday. They were saying no one's buying the book for Jodorowsky. They're not. People might read it and enjoy it, but you're picking it up for Mobius first, and it is kind of frustrating that people keep referring to it as his Incal,
Jodorowsky's Incal.
It's as much Mobius's thing. And they were saying, a lot of people were saying that, to his credit, he has always picked fantastic artists, and he always gets great stuff out of them. He he does seem to fire their imagination. So I mean, he does deserve. He's absolutely co-creator, but the thing's unreadable. It's fucking.
I think if I remember, the Incal was kind of a response to for Jodorowsky, it's a calling card. It's developing a print product. It's supposed to help facilitate his reputation in further developing film. And I guess that's what's happened if he's actually got it to a point where somebody wants to make it into a film. But the rest of the world that's consumed that book, outside of a very niche number of people that have been sent it by Jodorowsky going, let's make this into a movie, people are there for Mobius's artwork.
Yep. 100%.
That's fair to say. And
I mean,
I find it hard to get excited about Jodorowsky's anything after there's how I don't know, how cancelled is he? He's a lunatic, right?
He should be.
He's
canceled.
A very problematic lunatic.
Why? What?
Rape facilitator?
I don't know anything about him. I don't know. I don't even know what that means.
He claimed during a scene where does the character rape somebody, or is it sex in the scene? Either way, he said, and then, not in an acting way, I raped her. And you're like, he did that in an interview, and he basically said he raped the actress on camera. And that's what he said. Those are the English words he said.
I don't know who he is.
But he subsequently, and
he's a director. For him, he directed some kind of psychedelic, very kind of lurid.
I need to get the second part of this out, otherwise I'm liable.
Okay, go on. But no, just like probably shouldn't talk about this anyway.
No, he said it. You're fine.
He said the English words. He said the English words. I raped her, but then he walked that back to, like, meaning it very metaphorically, or like his choice of words in the language were wrong. Like he definitely tried to walk back his use of the word there. But there's also the element of the actress that was in that movie was a local in the 70s and hasn't been seen in movies or public life since. So I think even getting any sort of verification or other side of the story hasn't happened.
Oh, what's the guy's name?
Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Oh yeah, I've seen him now.
So I watched Jodorowsky's Dune. I have not watched Holy Mountain. I've seen some of his stuff, but like ever since you hear that, it's like, oh, I don't think I can be excited for anything associated with this dude, you know? And like, I like Taika, so I'm a little...
Yeah, why is he doing it?
Because it's a massive sci-fi property if he gets it right.
Yeah, okay, it's a potentially big property, but, you know, you could also work with a guy who's not bragged about exploiting women and assaulting them, you know? You would think, like, the thing is, okay, yeah, this is an opportunity to do a big sci-fi property, okay. But in 2 years' time, when the thing is coming out, it's going to be impossible to avoid questions. Yeah, it's going to come back. I mean, it's been around. It's going to come back. So there's that entire thing that you've now got to field questions for it. So it's strange that, you know, no property is worth that kind of. It's toxic. It's you know, it's going to harm. It's going to corrode anybody touching it potentially, and it's odd that you would take that risk, especially when there are so many other. There's plenty of fucking French sci-fi stuff, comics out there, you know, for you to kind of take your own crack at the Fifth Element. You know, there's no shortage of comic properties.
Yeah, like to be honest, like, you know. No, if the guy's if he's a creep and he said shit like that, don't be putting money back in his pocket.
See, that's the thing of it. Like, I like Taika, and I have seen people who are just sick of his sort of public persona shtick, but I like Taika and I like the work he does. And as Brian says, there's no way this doesn't come up, and it's literally the first thing that crossed my mind when I saw Taika is making the Incal. I went, ooh, how closely associated with... Because I can't think about Ready Player One without thinking about... not Ready Player One, Ender's Game. It's Orson Scott Card is Ender's Game, isn't it?
Yep.
And he was donating money to gay conversion churches.
Yeah, he's done worse even, just publicly being homophobic.
And then I can't watch this. I cannot watch Ender's Game without thinking about that. And like, not that Ender's Game is astounding, but there's something about Ender's Game that I like, and I've watched it way more than I should have. I've seen that movie
really
half dozen or more
the
times.
Harrison Ford one.
There's something about it's got a little bit of like a Harry Potter in school vibe, a little bit of a Dirty Dozen thing going. The effects are good. I just think it falls down in the third act because it's presented as second act. You think, maybe when you're reading the book it's a lovely reveal, but you think that this is a training mission that's going to prepare you for the big final battle. But when they finish it, they're like, you didn't realize that this virtual simulation reflected real events happening off in the world. You did it. You saved us all. And it's a real, like...
I mean, I remember watching the movie. I liked it.
Yeah. But I got to the end and was like, oh, it's over. Okay, I thought this was a training mission and then we were going to go to the battle that actually matters. Because I was like, in my head, he's not going to fail the training mission.
Yeah, there's no stakes or whatever.
So then let's go see what happens. There was no stakes, and then it ended. And I'm like, oh.
I just wish Waititi was playing or directing Guardians 3 instead. I really don't like the Guardians movies, especially 2.
I like the Guardians movies. It is funny how...
2 is awful.
It's funny.
2 is like the second worst film in the MCU, I would say. Dreadful.
I like 2 because it felt like
Dog
a Star
shit.
Trek, the original series show. Felt like an episode of Star Trek, and I liked it. I liked how small it was.
I like 2. I watched it.
It's not even small. It's just bad.
I watched it. And it's bad in your opinion, Brian. Please.
No, it's bad. Objectively bad.
I think I watched it with
It's
my
good
parents
fun.
and I enjoyed
Mantis
it.
is good.
Mantis
I
is
liked the
great.
giant Pac-Man. I enjoyed Drax. I liked Kurt Russell flying around on a giant egg. I enjoyed that movie.
Aidan, I'm happy you took some happiness from it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We're all happy today.
Wouldn't it be better though if it was directed by Waititi?
I don't know. I think
Objectively
I want
better.
I want a little I want Waititi out of Marvel as well. Like, I'm sure Thor Love and Thunder is going to be good, but like, I prefer him doing a Jojo Rabbit or the Incal. Let him do his own shit. I enjoyed the Chris Pratt controversy. I enjoyed the Chris Pratt shite going on the internet this week as well. With, you know, like, is he playing Garfield? Is that a real thing?
There was another thing he said on the internet that kind of was making the rounds that wasn't so nice. But
Well, what did he say?
he made some posts about thanking his beautiful wife for giving him like a healthy daughter and stuff.
He's trying to be Ryan Reynolds. He's trying to do that thing where, you know, he's making fun of his wife, but, you know, it's kind of charming and roguish and stuff, except he doesn't have the
Charm or
doesn't have the same charm or wit, and it just comes off as obnoxious.
I started reading that where it's like, get someone who looks at you the way that she looks at this, and we met at church is where it all began, and I was like, oh, I'm out. Like, I am.
Yeah, but you see,
It gets worse.
yeah, but
I couldn't read past it all began in church.
It's actually kind of gibberish, but
It's like rude.
people were commenting on the fact that like kind of his first son or child with Farrah, what's her name?
Anna Faris.
Anna Faris, was born, I think, premature or something and has health issues. So the way he said, for giving me a beautiful, healthy daughter, people felt like he was throwing shade and being passive aggressive. Probably not. But, you know, that's the issues with being, you know, a celebrity or whatever. But it's just an obnoxious kind of convoluted tweet, Instagram post, whatever. But Garfield, he's doing Garfield. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't care if he's doing Garfield. I don't care if he's
Her heart is
doing Mario.
pure and it belongs to me. Yeah, I just he needs to go back to hanging out with like Amy Poehler's and Nick Offerman's and people with more fucking sense that can just slap him every time he says something stupid. I think he's in a bubble of fucking
I don't think so. I think he's just becoming
right-wing
the person
churchy
he is.
bullshit. Yeah. But I like if this is the person he is, then when he was associating with those people, he was kept in a sort of little shame cage.
No, I prefer him,
Prefer to
showing
know
us
what
who
he is.
Yeah. Rather
Say that
than
again, Brian?
hang it. I'd prefer him to be, be who he is rather than hang around with Offerman and Poehler and get some clout by,
Association.
hiding his actual beliefs from the rest of us and have us think he's Andy Dwyer. I'd much prefer him to just be out there making shit films and being a piece of shit so we can say, yeah, he's a piece of shit rather than rather than him pretending to be Andy Dwyer.
But I think
when
there's
he's
something
privately
to like
not good.
like the people you associate with affect the person you are to a degree, you know what I mean? I think they were a good influence on him. And I think they would be a good influence on him.
You're just
can't allow
confusing.
for them-
You're just confusing his character. They had no influence on him. You just that's not true.
You don't
He
think
just-
that the
he
people you associate help form your opinions?
They can.
I think there's a reason he's not associating with them anymore. Because they're not as people. They've different views. You find your tribe. The only people, the only time you can be changed is if you're forced to be around people who challenge your views.
Yeah.
And
But that's
but
what I'm.
he's
I guess
yeah,
I
but
wish he
he's
was
choosing
forced to.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like he can't.
Well,
If
yeah.
anything, if he was on the set of another sitcom, he'd be inappropriately flashing female co-stars and stuff again.
Yeah.
True.
Just because that's a funny blooper. It's not funny blooper. It's not a funny blooper at all. It's funny because Poehler tries to play it off, but that's a workplace. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to fucking get my dick out. It'll be hilarious.
Did I think that was fake? No.
No.
He could have just been wearing his underwear or something.
No.
No, I think he took his dick out.
He took his dick out. 100%.
But how's that not an issue?
It is an issue.
Yeah. It was just before it was an issue, and the fact that they made it a public blooper kind of they cornered themselves into a place of complicity with it by making it one of the bloopers. So they kind of just have to play it off as, you know, oh, this was the energy of the workplace and we were fine with it. Like, I'm sure someone will come along and say, we're not doing that again. Or they were uncomfortable during that. I'm sure they all said they were uncomfortable with it. Like, Pratt even said somebody had a talk with him and said, you fucking can't do that.
Yeah, well, fair enough, like.
But because they made it a blooper and they made it part of the gag and everybody was in on it, they're going to find a hard time, or they're going to have a hard time sort of walking that back a little bit. Took a weird turn in this conversation.
Anyways, Garfield and Mario.
All I'm saying is Guardians 3, Mario, Garfield. Looking forward to more Chris Pratt content is all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Andy Dwyer should have a spin-off show.
Yeah, 100%. Where he's muscular and he inadvertently has to save the town instead of the world, just on a smaller scale, through comedic antics.
Johnny Karate. Isn't that his name?
Don't know. Never watched it.
So Taika Waititi's directing the Incal. Alejandro Jodorowsky, who also did a lot of like previs stuff on Dune. That's why there's a sort of... I wonder if Jodorowsky sort
concept
of
art
parlayed the Dune media train at the moment into getting the Incal off the ground.
100%.
It has to have, right?
100%.
There's a documentary about that his Dune movie, is there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's called Jodorowsky's Dune.
Okay, I've never seen it.
It's good. It's a I don't know where you'd watch it, but it's a good if you're into art, it's exciting to see the team he put together, even if he is a problem. The little think tank of creators that he brought together to make this thing was like, it's a nice little nexus that led into the sci-fi movies for the subsequent 30 years. The other thing we had this week was a trailer for Morbius. So Jared Leto is finally getting his trailer out. That movie is early 2022, or is it?
Yeah, January or February, I think.
Yeah. What did you make of it?
I like, to be honest, judging from the trailer, I didn't hate it. Like, I'm not going to necessarily dismantle it straight away. It's not. I don't think it's my type of superhero movie. I definitely have become more accustomed to the MCU approach to telling stories and aesthetics, you know, in a kind of in a general sense. 16-year-old me would have been very, very pumped for this movie. I remember quite liking the character from the 90s Spider-Man show. My brothers and I quite liked them. I think my older brothers really liked them. But I'm not saying like, you know, oh, it's a movie for kids or anything. That I'm not. I'm just saying like, kind of my taste has changed. But I don't really see an issue with the movie as such. Like, it could be good. Like, I'll give it the benefit of that until I see it. But I have no expectations.
I'm trying to think of what, like, it reminds me of like Jet Li's The One, and
I love
like
that.
action movies from the early 2000s with like a lot of camera movement. Everything's at night, street lights. I don't know if it's just the context that gives it this aesthetic, but it's the same thing Malignant had in terms of its cinematography.
I was talking to somebody during
and Venom.
Yeah,
like, there's a visual look to these films.
dark and shiny.
Yeah, that's it.
Isn't
Dark
it?
and shiny and like
Yeah.
blue special effects.
Yeah, it's dark and shiny. It's weird, but yeah.
Lots of waves of like wobbly shit happening
Yeah.
on the screen.
But I, you know, like I said, like, kind of some of it looks really cool. You know,
I'd love to know if I could like nail that down to like one art director that was making movies in 2001.
and nailed it. Yeah,
I mean, some
yeah.
visual effects supervisor who's been there a long time. You know, so, this is the way you do sonars.
Yeah,
you know?
I wonder. It has to kind of I suppose it was a transitional thing, but I'd imagine Matrix and Blade being massive influences on that, just because of them being like, Blade was like 1999 or something, and then coming into 2000s and the stuff becoming more accessible and cheaper. Yeah, like computer generated stuff.
But I've definitely worked on like animation projects where like there's some veteran in the room and he's like, this is the way you do this thing, and it's like, oh, okay, and it works.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that you saw 1989 on the Turtles or something. Do you know what I mean? It's fine, but it's not particularly
the way it's done.
It just feels of that era.
Yes.
So like this film feels like a throwback.
It does, yeah. It does. It definitely does. But it was so to be I can't say it, but malignant. I can't say it. That word felt like a bit of a throwback to those early 2000 horror action movies, like in a big
Queen
big
of
way.
the Damned.
Yeah. Oh man,
where they're doing that slow-mo walk,
dude. Freddy versus Jason, like there's so many of them.
There's it's so fucking funny. It just feels like a throwback.
Bad special effects films with nothing to say.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. I mean, because like Queen of the Damned is that Anne Rice vampire world.
Underworld.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank
Resident
you. That's
Evil,
a great example.
Like, it's just special effects, flashy films with nothing to say.
Yeah, normally we're kind of like one big cast member or maybe two.
Underworld is a great example of it. Now, I liked the first Underworld.
When I saw it, I loved it. Yeah, I can't remember now.
Yeah, I did enjoy that
Equilibrium
minute.
Yeah,
but
I like the
yes.
Equilibrium. Yeah, even like
this is brilliant. Brian's computer brain is clocking in. Give us more.
Even the like, I would even say like this. Is it the Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Gabriel Byrne?
Yeah, it's funny where it's like, especially as like the Sixth Day is like a Total Recall ripoff.
Oh no, I'm not thinking of
like
the Sixth Day. I'm thinking of something else.
End of Days maybe
End of Days. Yeah, I used to love that movie. But I'm just talking about that in the sense of like these ridiculous kind of like horror movie type of action, like Arnold Schwarzenegger doing a horror movie. Basically, it's like that kind of stuff, you know.
I find it interesting that you can have the Queen of the Damned as being one of these shallow, cheap, shitty visual effects action movies that says nothing, as Brian describes them, and that is how I felt about that movie. I was like, what the fuck is this? I didn't give a shit about it. Whereas Interview with the Vampire, same world, same characters, but it's much more interesting to watch.
Because it's people's approach to it, people's interpretations, you know.
That, and it's Tom Cruise, you know. You can't go wrong with
Brad
that.
Pitt. Even Minority Report, great movie.
Andy Newton.
Minority Report is that kind of vein as well. The Jet Li stuff, like the One and everything.
Yeah. It has that sort of.
It has the benefit of having a better cinematographer. Same with the Matrix. Like a lot of those films are trying to cheaply replicate the better examples, like the Minority Reports and the Matrices. But yeah, it comes down to trying to mimic something's style, but not having the same budget or pedigree, and then ultimately being about nothing. So, like those films, I was always looking forward to. I mean, I couldn't have been looking forward to Underworld more, and I hated it because it just left me feeling so empty afterwards. It's so shallow, and I used to think being stylish was its own, you know, that's its own reason.
Did you not like shallow things when you were younger, Brian?
I really didn't, and like genuinely, like it used to bother me when I'd read something like a review of Underworld or something, and that saying it was just like shallow or whatever, and then I'd watch it, and it's just like it. You can have flashy for the sake of flashy, and it can be so entertaining, but when it's not made with a real. It's not a real voice or expression of style, then it's always going to be empty. So like John Woo can just be all about flash, and it can be the most entertaining 90 minutes while it's happening when he's hitting it. And then you've got something that's just imitating, and it's just a pastiche of things. Yeah. Like the Matrix was a pastiche of all these influences, but it was about something at the end of the day. And the moments land when it does its thing. But then you've got an Underworld where it thinks it's enough to have the same palette, same wardrobe, same soundtrack, same camera moves. like I could not have been more looking forward to that film. I was like, finally, there's a like it. I'd written that film in my head so many times. It's like, why isn't there a vampires versus werewolves film that's also an action film and has kung fu and all this stuff? And I saw the trailer for it, and there's a character with the whip, and I was like, this is going to be the greatest fucking film ever. And then I walked.
That's where it comes from.
I think I was only 16 or 17. I was just like, that sucked. That was so fucking shit.
I quite liked it.
I quite liked the first one. Yeah.
But I'll say, like, I definitely was.
And I like the one with Michael Sheen where he's
That's the first one.
in medieval times.
Oh,
But,
medieval times. Okay, sorry.
The fourth one with Rona Mitra.
I liked it.
They got him back. How did they get him back?
Money.
How did they get Rona Mitra? I love Rona Mitra.
But that time where basically
Ever since she was on Boston Legal.
these horror action movies or these action movies with new metal soundtracks, that was my jam. Like, kind of, and I was down.
That's part of it as well. Is like Morbius feels like the soundtrack should be new metal. I can't think of what.
It looks like
I feel
Daredevil.
like
It's going to be about nothing. It's just
Daredevil had a Nickelback
there's
song.
the
in it.
Venom line at the end. Who are you? I am Venom, and we're supposed to laugh at that. And
Yeah.
I'm sure
look,
people
we'll
did
see.
though, because Venom's been a huge hit. So
I kind of chuckled, but
Michael Keaton's in the trailer, which means we're in the No Way Home universe.
does it?
Does it?
I mean, there's also the Oscorp building from the Andrew Garfield films. Well, not the building, but the logo is the logo from.
yeah,
Andrew
I've seen all that
Andrew
stuff.
Garfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like,
Who
I'm annoyed
knows?
that I think I have to watch that Venom movie now.
yeah, I'm trying.
I was always going to watch it, but
I'm
I just
waiting to watch
now
it.
I want to watch
Just
it.
watch the end credit scene. Have you guys seen the end credit scene for
No. I don't. No spoilers, because I'm waiting.
for
to
Venom
watch
2?
It. I'm waiting to watch it. Yes.
Okay. How have you
Yes.
How have you
I'm waiting to
avoided
watch
it so far?
I'm not really on the internet a whole lot, pal. To be honest.
No, but you don't even have to be. Yeah. You've seen it, Aidan, have you?
I had somebody on a podcast describe it. I was in the gym. I had a weight overhead, and my phone was on the ground. I'm like, well, I'm committing to this.
Yeah, no, I want to watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna say,
So I liked Morbius in the comics. I liked his costume. I was never a big fan of like the turny up nose, because that's just not an aesthetic I like. But I do see why they're like referencing bats and their look. I started trying to find some Morbius comic content, because like I do have like some really old English reprints of Marvel comics where like Morbius is in them.
the Panini stuff.
Huh?
The Panini comics.
No, like earlier, like remember I told you that we dug out when our neighbors moved, they left their kids' comic book collection in the garage, and the new owners just tossed it all in a skip. So I've got like a stack of like that old square ratio stuff from the 70s, or maybe even earlier. Like it might have been like parallel prints with the American stuff. They're in rag order, but like that was most of my first comics was like carefully turning the pages on these sort of sepia yellowed, half torn comics. You know, there's a whole bunch of World War II comics in there as well. But I like there's the Morbius stuff that I saw in there, but then I was like, there must be a standalone run of Morbius over the last fucking hell. I was going to say 30 years, but it was the 1970s, so 50 years. There, what I found was there's a comic called I forgot what it is. Adventure into Fear, which ran for 30 issues and seems to, like, I don't know a lot about the book, but it was like, you know, Marvel used to do a broader sort of, maybe they do, but they used to do like, they weren't just superhero comics. There was like, here's our horror range, here's our romance range, here's our sci-fi range, the way you'd get like Star Wars and Planet of the Apes and that sort of stuff. Rom the Space Knight. So they did an Adventure into Fear, where they did these, looking at the way it's run. It ran over 5 years. There's about 30 issues from 1970. And issue 20 to 30 is a Morbius comic, in essence. The issues before that are Man-Thing, 10 to 20. And then before that as well, it looks a little more like a Twilight Zone sci-fi Monster of the Week kind of thing. So I'm reading through those just to sort of, you know, get a bit of that actual Morbius content before creeping up into the 90s stuff, where they got a bit more new metal on it. But he doesn't seem to have a lot of ongoing run. This does just seem to be the Sony strategy of trying to make a franchise out of anything Spider-Man related, because they have first swing at anything Spider-Man related.
Could they have, like, do you think there's a better character they could have taken? I'm sure there is.
Is there anybody?
The character's not the problem. The character's what's the film about in the end. Why do we have a shot of him in the air dodging bullets in slow motion? Like, who's asking for that? Who's still looking at that going, yes, that's the stuff I want? The shot where the CGI character, where the camera is lingering on them for too long and they look a bit ropey, and it looks like Blade 2.
Oh,
he's dodging a
Blade
bullet
2,
in the
man.
air.
I'll never forget that scene.
Why?
It's the fight where everybody's rubber against the light
about?
panel.
The spotlights, yeah, like it's the only time in that movie where Guillermo used like say full on just CG stuff, and it's so bad. And Malignant reminded me of that, where they do that kind of backflip into the people and it's fighting, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The characters aren't the problem.
okay, Brian.
And like this is the thing that I always liked, even when the MCU was getting it wrong, is that each thing was a part of a bigger story, at least. And it felt like reading the comics, where I was like, but what's happening next? You know?
Do you think?
And I don't see the point of this film unless it's going to be about something.
Do you think? Do you think Sony trying to kind of get involved in the MCU, in the storyline and kind of whatever? Do you think it's going to affect Disney down the line? Do you think it's going to have do you think it's going to have a backlash on the MCU?
It's not going to be the MCU so much, but it's going to be the
Spider-Verse.
Just like any superhero film, you know, because
the audience doesn't necessarily know to differentiate between this superhero film and a Marvel film.
Yeah, and like the thing is that they never really took off, because like X-Men 1 and 2, it's all that kind of same stuff. Like even if the films are good, they never built any momentum. So the more of them that we get out that are, you know, not doing something similar, are going to detract, whether they're connected to the thing or not, because as far as the general audience is concerned, this is just more superhero stuff, and it's just going to bring down the average of them being good. Okay, essentially. Okay. The more shitty ones that are put out.
Okay, I get you.
Because even the shittiest MCU movie can kind of get away with it because it's attached to something bigger, and it's like, well, you know, that wasn't so great, but it gave us that little teaser for this other thing, and that's enough. That's worked with general audiences. They're like, okay, well, you know, I want to see what happens next though, because they gave us that little tidbit. But if it's just a superhero special effects fest, who cares? You know, it's hard to make those. It's hard to make those films matter and make you walk out, like, because it's what the MCU started to do right as well when Winter Soldier came out, and it's a spy thriller thing with a great, you know, two great action set pieces in it. With real, you know, performers and stuff, not just like special effects rubber banding kind of around the place. It's a genre thing, but the person in it just happens to be, you know, superhuman. Whereas everything else coming out, it's just this special effects thing. And again, I don't really have problems with big special effects movies and stuff like that. It's just, you've either got to really visually be very, very interesting, or otherwise this is going to fall flat. And what's the point of making a movie about a guy with vampire powers? Like, what else are you building towards?
That's some of the problem with it as well, is that like you with Marvel, the MCU, you had this sense that like they have an arc that they're aiming at. There is a path, whether it's the Avengers Phase 1. No, sure, they pretty much spelled out their Infinity Stones from fucking day one, right? And they were aiming at that.
And even if the plan is changing on the fly, it's still kind of going somewhere. But it's the reason, like, I liked the first two X-Men films, kind of seeing them in the cinema, but very forgettable. I like when I watched them again, like even the second one, after that opening White House scene, and the attack in the mansion. After that, it's just so flat, and it's going nowhere. It's kind of what killed the Fox X-Men thing, is that the films were never building towards anything. There was very little continuity, and then when they tried to have a continuity, they just kind of fucked it up completely, because the films, at like as entertaining or as the film might be in the moment watching it, is very kind of shallow afterwards. You know, there's very little in there that's. I mean, it's the reason why we had so many bad Wolverine films for so long.
There's no actual arc on them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you watch the film and you forget about it, even if you enjoy it.
What is
in
the
moment,
big,
you know,
like in comics? What is the big Wolverine journey? Is there an arc?
Origin.
People think about the Frank Miller, the Japan stuff, but like, there's not like that's not a big multi-film spanning franchise narrative there.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you could do something about his past and have it kind of teased out.
But I think you need to write that. Whereas the thing Marvel has is they have these big series spanning events that have carried it. You know, like they've just had to look at the framework that's there and go, okay, here's what worked, here's what didn't. But like, fine-tune.
They could have done. You could have done a Winter Soldier with Wolverine.
Oh, the Alpha Flight stuff. You know, the Alpha Flight and Weapon X stuff. Like, there's great governmental.
Yeah, but like take the whole plot of the Winter Soldier and just change it from Cap to Wolverine. Like, just imagine that film for a second.
So who's Wolverine in that scenario?
There's
Cap?
so much.
Or who's Cap? Wolverine?
Yeah.
So
Cap is Wolverine, but imagine something from his past
Soldier's
Omega
like,
Red or
that
something.
he thinks is dead and buried.
Winter Soldier, Sabretooth,
Omega Red or
and then
yeah.
You know, there's so much there's so many different ways you could kind of and whether he's connected to the X-Men still or something, but like but the thing is they never approach the films that way. They never approach to say, hey, let's do a spy thriller, but the guy happens to have knives in his hands.
I know.
That's never what we got with that kind of.
It was like
with those other non-MCU films.
Like, I'll never forget it, that opening sequence in the first Wolverine origin movie where it's him and Sabretooth running through the different wars and changing, you know, that kind of way. Oh, I was like, this is going to be epic. And
I was annoyed by that because I knew all of that was there, and I was like, let's just do the fucking Vietnam story. Let's do the let's do the world, like, let's do the World War I, World War II, Vietnam. There's your trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. You have a great character that spans time and events and stuff, and kind of, you know, but
that's it. Like, and it's no longer now a special effects movie about a superhero. It's now a war movie, but the guy's got
guns and
powers.
Yeah,
they've got your different genre stuff. You know,
Wolverine's dropped behind enemy lines. He has to disable a battery of guns that's stopping Allied troops getting through. Do Guns of Navarone with Wolverine.
I think the problem with all of these films that we can kind of, like the non-MCU stuff, is that the film is that it's about a superhero. It's a special effects film. It's a superpower film. The film is about this guy who's got this power. The film is about this guy who's got this power. And instead of being about the power, it should be, let's make, you know, the buddy action film like Thor. Let's make the Winter Soldier spy film. Make a genre film, but the lead character has powers, and whether it's Wolverine or Cyclops or whoever. But instead, what we get is like Morbius.
Yeah, it's an easier recipe for success.
All the films are about the power. Venom's about a guy who's got alien powers. Morbius is about a guy who's got vampire powers. All of these films, the problem with all of them is the film is about the superpower, not about putting
the character in a context.
A character who happens to have powers in a situation.
Wolverine 1.
It's why the opening scene in X2 works so well, is that it's about an assassin who's got teleportation powers. So it's an assassination
Wolverine
attempt.
1 is in World War 1. We just do a take on 1917. He's got to get a message across enemy lines. That's the fucking mission. World War 2 is like Guns of Navarone. He's got to disable a gun battery. World War 3 is like Wolverine 3 is like Rambo 2. He's got to rescue POWs in the middle of Vietnam. Like, give him a.
But the people he's up against have superpowers. You know, that's the thing. And then, you know, he's going up against a commando unit of mutants who've got superpowers, and instead of it being about
you could also throw in a Sabretooth
arc
showing
there, the special effect.
Throw in a Sabretooth arc, or like Sabretooth's an ally in the first movie, and then by the end of it, he's fighting him in Vietnam.
Yeah. By the end of it, he's the Russian. Oh, that's Omega Red.
Or Wolverine's on a special detail where he's a bodyguard for somebody, and he's going up against Sabretooth, who's an assassin.
Yeah.
And now it's this film. It's a film about a bodyguard and an assassin, but they both have healing powers. Yeah. And like, you know, it's not about the. Don't make it about the power. Just make it about the story.
I wouldn't mind seeing
your characters happen to have superpowers.
I would like to see an Omega Red thrown in the mix.
So you've mentioned Omega Red a few times on different calls, different podcasts, different things. I still don't know much about Omega Red beyond the cartoon and the look of it. When, you know, in that cartoon, Wolverine doesn't really go into his past much, other than like, here's an old enemy I have. I remember watching that at like 10 years old, going, should I know? Wolverine's clearly letting on that he knows who this person is and he's a big deal, but like, I don't know. I have no context for his concern here.
There's a great arc that Jim Lee penciled where they introduced him, and it's just great comic book stuff. You've got the secret facility where they show, and they've got the character, I think it's Matsuda, and like it's this evil scientist secret facility, and they're awakening this thing from, like, it's been cryogenically frozen, like, so what is it? And then when they wake it up, it kills every scientist in the room because he activates his death factor. And you know, that's the reveal of the villain. It's like he kind of steps out of the smoke and shadows, and he's naked and he's blonde and he's pale and he's just killed everybody in the room, and you're like, what is this about? And then it cuts to the X-Men. They're playing a basketball game, and
in tiny 90s pants.
Classic X-Men. Yeah, classic X-Men doing like X-Men stuff in the mansion. And then I think Gambit and Rogue are going on a date, and then the hand attack, and there's this ambush, and now it's a fight scene with ninjas at the mansion. It's Rogue, Gambit, and Wolverine, and it's great. And then they abduct Wolverine, and then they abduct Wolverine because he's got this element that can stabilize Omega Red's death factor thing. So the two of them fight then, and they're testing Wolverine, and they've been fighting for like 48 hours, and there's this big fight in the snow. And then it flashes back to when they first encountered each other in like the 40s, I think, and Maverick's there, and you kind of see the character the first time, and Sabretooth is there. And then it catches up to the present day again, and now Sabretooth shows up with his, I can't remember his assistant's name, but she's like blonde. But like there's the Fenris twins, there's the Hand, there's Sabretooth, and then he gets rescued by, I think it's Cyclops and Psylocke show up, and it was like a great little arc, and there's so much good stuff.
Like, what is Omega Red? Is he's a Russian super soldier?
He's the
Russian super soldier.
He's essentially though like the Russian Weapon X.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a Russian super soldier, much like Weapon X, and the difference is he's got this death factor thing. It's the opposite of the healing factor, and if he doesn't use it on other people to sustain him, it starts to kind of kill him. And they need Wolverine's adamantium or something to stabilize something in him. And he's got these carbonadium coils, which it's flexible adamantium. So he's very much Wolverine's opposite in a way. But there's great flashbacks to them on a mission in Germany in the 40s or 50s, I think. The Hand are in it. There's ninjas in it. There's Sabretooth is in it. It was a great story. It's like I would love to see that story recreated. on screen. But instead we
Yeah.
get the X-Men movies we've got, which fall so short of what the comics were, you know.
Well, we're solidly on the comic kick, so let's just keep this rolling into the Eternals. Or Eternals. There is no definite article, just before you correct me, Brian. I know that's coming, so I'll just get ahead of that there and then.
I wasn't going to
Were you
say
not?
it this time.
Oh, it's not called The Eternals.
No, apparently not.
It's just called
No.
Eternals. That's pretty cool.
Eternals.
Once again, for the listeners, and I know this is week 1 of this movie being out, we are going to talk about the plot of this film. We're going to talk about the whole broad stroke of it. The trailer lays out the general concept. There is a group of 9 or 8.
10.
10 of them, is there? 10 eternal beings sent by Celestials to fight the deviant monsters that are present on the planet Earth and protect humankind and usher them to a peak point for their civilization. They can't interfere, they can't advance us of their own volition, they just have to support us as we do it. And they've been around for 7,000 years, guiding, shaping, but not interfering with things like wars or Thanos level problems. And we meet them as they're starting to sort of find their own purposes and maybe rebel against the programming. We see them for the first time as they arrive on Earth to ancient Mesopotamia. We see Richard Madden as Icarus talking to walking Terry Dodson, drawing Gemma Chan as Cersei. Good little action sequence on Mesopotamia, and then it flash forwards into the future. And we see Gemma Chan and Richard Madden working in the Natural History Museum, and they have a whole scene where they're a couple.
No.
And then I'm 10 minutes later when Richard Madden actually shows up, and I realise I've been looking at Kit Harington for that entire time, and it completely
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe it. I was sitting here watching
They
the movie.
don't even look that alike.
They don't look alike. Nope. I was sitting in the cinema going, "Oh, they've been together for thousands of years." And then Richard Madden showed up in another shot, and I went, "Wait a minute, that's not Richard. That's Kit Harington."
That's so funny.
I couldn't believe it, and then I couldn't wait to tell you because I wasn't faking that shit. I was watching it going, "That's Icarus."
That's
He's
hilarious.
scared of things and doesn't know what it is. I guess it's not Icarus.
Face blindness.
I don't know.
You didn't cop when he asked her, was she a wizard? You still didn't cop it? No.
I mean, that's probably around when he realised that he didn't know anything. Oh. I don't know what's wrong with me, guys.
You've got face blindness. Or you need to up your prescription.
When we put the two of them together, I'm like, of course, these are drastically different human beings. But I rolled through that whole first sequence without even...
Maybe it is your glasses.
Question it too.
Huh?
Is it your when was the last time you got your eyes checked? Is it your glasses? Do you need a different prescription?
I hope not. I like having eyeballs. All right. Rant aside and pointing out my weird fucking face blindness. Kevin, what were your thoughts on the Eternals?
Yes.
Broad stroke, did you enjoy it?
Broad stroke, yes. But I just want to say it was really, really nice to see Jack Kirby getting that credit. You know, did you see that? Did you notice that at all? At the end of the movie, anyways, for sure, they say like written and I think like is it written and drawn by Jack?
Written and
Kirby or
illustrated
something?
by, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like that's really like, you know, it's kind of, you kind of feel like you made it, Jack. You know, something you did, you got the credit. You know, 'cause he did that book in like 1976, I think. I think the Eternals debuted in 1976, but it's like just seeing his name on that solo, that's so like, you know, his sole name that attached to a property like that was just like, I you know, that would have made him very happy. I think this would have made him very happy.
Oddly enough, I didn't notice that, but I did notice the Jim Starlin credit because he's a sort of later era thing. For
Eros and Pip.
Yeah. Oddly enough, that did pop up. I guess I was taking the Jack Kirby thing for granted, that there's no way they can't credit Jack Kirby. What I found interesting was looking at the Deviant's design, because that's pure John Romita. I don't know if you feel that way too, but if you go and look at Romita's run, just the way that he draws big, bold pencil lines and has very geometric shapes, that felt to me like a Romita drawing, and the way he draws monsters and stuff.
So it was dreadlocks and stuff.
Yeah, it was interesting seeing the he does a lot of like parallel line based stuff, just off like it's not. He defines his forms in a very contour line kind of way rather than in a like texture. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
And then color. He lets the colorist do a lot of the work, which is cool.
Broad stroke though, I really, really enjoyed this movie.
Okay.
I think Brian in the last episode said that people's general criticism was not enough action and it didn't feel blockbustery enough or something. You're quoting people's issues with it or whatever, but I made the unfortunate mistake of seeing it in 4D.
Why
in the fuck?
Why do you do this?
I sat through the credits and I saw like 2 different studios accredited with 3D conversion processes, and like, what fucking lunatic is seeing these films? I literally sat there going, well, they're not doing that in Ireland still. Where is anybody seeing a 3D version of this thing? Who's putting glasses on in a COVID scenario? Publicly used glasses.
These are single-use disposable.
Sure. Somebody handled them, stuck them in a bag, and handed them to you.
No, they were single-use disposable. You had to open them up and everything. But what I was going to say is, fucking hell, Jesus! Like, I love the movie. Don't get me wrong. I hate 3D. I'm not a 3D fan. I'm not a 4D fan.
Yeah.
And I hated the 4D. But it's nothing to do with the movie. I just hate fucking 4D movies. It was awful. I was fucked around in a chair for ages.
That's what I was going to say. The chair's moving and poking you and spitting shit at you.
Oh, man. And then that one scene, that one scene where Cersei changes a knife into water.
You wet yourself?
Literally just got a big...
Did you piss yourself?
No, I got a big flick of water in my face. It was just like, that's gross.
Hold on. That's the knife that she has in her... She turns a lot of things into water. Yeah. That's the moment. Like, that felt like a very local to that character bit of water. Why did you get?
They wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it when she's underwater and she turns the deviant into a tree.
And there's a giant splash of water into the air.
Was it not that
there's
moment?
Water. There's water everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of splashes of water and stuff. But this was a very just like
you had a very wet time at the cinema. That's disgusting.
Yeah, I saw Equalizer 2, and basically the last scene in that movie takes place. Sort of the last phase. The last part of that movie takes place in a
booking
a storm.
4D films. This is your last time now. Okay, you're out.
I had to put my jacket on. I'm not doing it again. But when I saw the Equalizer 2, I literally had to put my jacket on. The final scene was in a bloody storm, and I had to put my jacket on. I was getting fucking blasted out of it by wind and rain. It was awful.
So
it was warmer outside.
Here's fucking hell. 4D.
But anybody who says that movie isn't action, anybody who says that movie doesn't have enough action in it
hasn't been moved every time there's action.
You're dreading an action. I was like, after the first thing, I was just like, right, well, at least it doesn't have much action in it. The fucking movie had loads of action in it. I was fucked around that chair for ages. I hated it. The 4D is shit. The movie, I loved the movie. The fucking 4D. It's traumatizing. I hate it. It's not for me. I don't even like 3D anymore. It just takes me out of... I haven't liked 3D in about 10 years, but it just takes me out of movies. Give me a good old 2D movie any day of the week. Fuck that noise.
Brian, how did you feel
at one stage? My popcorn literally at one stage, I'm not joking, sat in a chair and my popcorn just went everywhere.
Did you go with Emer?
No.
Okay.
I went with my friends Bruno and Garrett.
Okay. Brian, what was your broad stroke thought in the film?
Broad strokes.
You can get as specific as you want to. We said we're spoiling, but
yeah, okay. So I knew like 95% of the plot going in.
Mm-hmm.
So the first two things that like really stood out in my mind when the film started is one, the deviant design. I am done with that just amorphous, squiggly CGI thing. It's crap to look at. Doesn't matter how well choreographed the action scene is. It's like, I just don't care about this fucking thing.
It's the weakest thing in The Edge of Tomorrow as well. It's
just and you know what? I was thinking about this last night. I'm not blaming directors anymore, because there's no way every director has the same poor taste. I think there's it must be a fucking VFX supervisor
some
thing.
Some VFX guy swears blind to them that this is a good idea, and they go, okay, I guess.
It's got to be
easy to do and looks good.
It's easier to do. There must be some default rig where they say, I can render this thing out in no fucking time. And I don't know what it is, but I'm blaming VFX supervisors or whoever it is. They got to fucking sort that shit out. It is so dull and uninteresting to look at. It's just the second it came out of the water, it's like, I've seen so many of these CGI monsters. They
wonder if you could look at that.
We've come from Thanos, who you genuinely forget. You know, is Josh Brolin all fucking 5'9", 5'10" of him with a big, tennis ball above his head or whatever. You forget, like, I fully bought into that character.
Yeah.
We're not going back. We've had Thanos. You can't give us these fucking squiggly monsters anymore. I'm done with it. Second thing that stood out, the whole London section. I sat there really going.
At the end of it or the start of it?
Just the whole London bit, basically. Yeah, outside of the classroom, basically. When it goes to his birthday party. So basically, I was defending this movie last week, and I was like, I'm really going to have to eat every word I said last week, because he's like, are you a wizard? This, that, or whatever. And then Sprite shows up, and he calls her Sprite. I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then Sprite goes, is that a deviant? I was like, no, this is too fast, too much. This is... Yeah. It really pulled me out. I was like, what is happening here? This is amateur hour. Like, you can rush a lot of information, but you got to do it right. Within the space of seconds, he called Sprite. And Sprite says, is that a deviant? And then he knows what deviants are. Yeah. And it's too much quickly established.
You believe me?
And then it's...
I did feel that was a little bit ham-fisted, but that was probably... I think that was probably like kind of... Because even like they did that thing at the very start where they kind of gave you a bit of a background, and they said, and all this was okay until Ajax did whatever shit or whatever. But it's just like there was a little bit too much at that start, but I would say that's probably it. Then it kind of like just goes. Then it starts getting into a flow.
It does after that. No, it does.
Clunkiness out of it. Yeah.
But we've got another monster coming out of the water again, and it's the same horrible, boring design. I was sitting there going, oh God. Is this really going to be this the whole way through? Once we got past that, it got so much better. I really enjoyed it. I wish they had put Cersei and Icarus at the center of the film. I wish we had just followed them through the ages, and then I would have liked the London stuff more if it came after all the background stuff.
Yeah.
The first trailer we got for this,
the jumping back and forth worked great. I mean, I think I liked those moments, but like. I don't think we
there's moments it worked, but I think it would have been I think the film overall would have been so much stronger. I think the first trailer we got for this was the one with Don't They Know It's the End of the World playing in the trailer. And I knew the plot at that point. So, Don't They Know It's the End of the World, it ended when you said goodbye. To me it's about Icarus and Cersei and the fact that they had this great love that lasted for millennia,
centuries,
and he's got the heel turn at the end. That should have been the center of the movie, because he flies off into the sun when their relationship they can't go anymore. But if the whole movie had been centered on their romance, and then we get to London, the London stuff would have made more sense, because we've just seen her have this entire relationship with Icarus, and now it makes sense for Whitman to be up to speed, because we're up to speed, instead of an info dump in a couple of seconds, and then take it from there. Because then as much as I like the film, a lot of the big emotional moments didn't land as strongly as they probably could have. And I think they would have landed better if they had centered Cersei's and Icarus's romance, if we follow that through the film. And then the ending, not that I had a problem with the ending, but it would have hit even harder if we'd have seen it in a one kind of continuous piece at the start rather than this fragmented kind of thing, because it did make it feel a little less cohesive moment to moment, I think. But overall, I really enjoyed it.
I was just going to say, obviously, Brian, you knew this going into it. I hadn't got a clue because I was able to avoid absolutely everything about this movie, so I had no idea going into it. Icarus's turn. But that was pretty obvious when they found Ajax, and he was just like, must have been a deviant. And I was just like, that was so forced. I was just like,
they've got a breadcrumb for audience as well, because you can't,
but I'm just saying,
you can't just have it come out of nowhere.
Was it that obvious for you, Aidan?
No. I like this thing. I kind of messaged this.
That's not a criticism, because I still forgot about it.
I liked a lot of the characters. I think they put together a really charismatic cast. But I thought the time travel stuff really, the jumping between time periods disconnected me from everything.
Really? I didn't have an issue with that at all.
I didn't like it. And I thought Richard Madden's Icarus was great. I loved the way that, like, every time he started to fly and move around and stuff, I went, this is cool. Like, as much as they call him Superman in the movie to make fun of it a bit, it was like, this is cool. Marvel has a Superman, and I like Richard Madden when I can work out who he is. And like, I enjoyed his power set, and I thought, oh, this is great. But then Ajax dead from the fucking get-go, so I don't really feel like I had time to like her, other than these like snippets where I didn't really connect to her.
Yeah, I think if we had a bit more of her being that maternal figure to them as well, in
a linear fashion, it was this real just
exactly.
But I think she was more of just kind of like, I don't know necessarily if you were meant to particularly like love her or whatever, you know. She was more of a kind of like
I think we were meant to love her.
She was their boss, but she was a connection between what's it, Arisham. But no, I actually did like kind of the going back and seeing a different kind of moments in the past, the different places they were and all kinds of. I liked the things.
I think it worked in moments.
I think the places and the concept, I think they worked. It's just the way they were presented to me in that order. I was like, there's one scene where they flash back somewhere for all of 30 seconds, and then we flash back to present day, and I'm like, that I didn't even have enough time to realize I was somewhere, you know.
I think if we had a few of them together in a linear way, and then a few to jump back to reveal another side of things, if we had another one or two to give us a different angle or perspective on a thing that played out in a revealing way, that would have worked. But I think overall it would have been stronger if it was a bit like here's the other thing as well. It feels like it starts twice, and I feel like there must have been a bit of rejigging or something, because we have them on the beach in Mesopotamia and they all form up in a big,
line,
hero line, and then we've got the other one in Babylon again, and it's almost like the film starts a second time because they're outside the gates and they come together, and it almost feels like, I really felt like the London stuff was tacked on because it comes in between those two moments.
As I say.
Yeah,
there's a thing in
the film has two opening sequences almost, and it's almost like they said, well, it's too good to leave out because we spent too much in it, and we introduced some characters here that we didn't introduce earlier. I don't know. It really feels like the film started twice.
Sprite telling that story to the people in Babylon as well really felt like establishing who they were as protectors and what their role was in terms of shepherding them forward. And then we see Faustus developing his steam engine, and it's like, okay, this is giving us everybody's role. But we did kind of see some of that from the very first one. There's
Fastus.
Yeah, it's play on
Hephaestus.
Hephaestus.
Yes, like
the Greek,
like Athena, yeah. Yep. But I would say though, kind of like I know like all the things he's saying, I do agree with, right? but like none of those things I necessarily feel like would warrant me giving a kind of like a less of a like say a 8 out of 10 or something. You know
I'd be
mean?
the same.
They're not necessarily
It didn't detract for me, but I think it would have been even stronger had it been the other way. So it's not that it's minus points because of it, but I do think it'd be stronger.
I was unfortunately
maybe
bored.
Man, go see it in 4D.
I like it.
You appreciate those moments, let me tell you.
It's frustrating to me that I was, but I was like, because I really wanted to like it, and I like everybody in it. Makari was great fun. Like,
I love Makari.
I saw somebody saying like,
God,
Marvel does a
fantastic.
speedster right.
I think
kind of did.
I think we should just go through. I'd like to go through each of them just as a kind of like what we taught them.
Yeah, go for it.
Hold on, can I just step back one thing before we go back? We talked about the concept of you said that the Babylonian as opposed to the Mesopotamian scene felt like a second restart. When it jumped to London, I thought they were going with the Romita Gaiman run where
they forget.
Yeah, me too.
Where they forget where their role is.
It really felt like that.
They're like in the comics, their role is.
She's looking blankly at the dagger. I really thought
that's it.
I think they rejigged.
I think that is though.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
the in the Gaiman comic, when we meet the Eternals, they have fulfilled their role over thousands of years and then kind of been blanked, and were living their lives as normal humans, and it became this sort of Icarus's job to wake everybody up, to remind people who they were. And when we see Cersei looking at the dagger that she gave that small Mesopotamian boy, I'm like, okay, it's 7,000 years later. Ajax put them in sleep mode. Icarus is going to come and revive this knowledge. I didn't know she knew she was an Eternal until she dissolved that rock in the classroom. And I'm like, oh, okay, so she knows. I thought that knife was going to be a trigger that, like, kind of like in a Highlander way, she touches it and remembers, and we get a little, like, cutscene.
I think they really must have changed it because, like I said, so much of that London stuff feels very rushed, very slapped in the middle. I think they must have rejigged the plot slightly at some point.
It does, because
that's what it feels like.
I remember thinking the street where they fought that deviant felt like they closed off one street, and that's where we're staying.
Yeah.
So let's go back then. Gemma Chan as Cersei. Did we enjoy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I liked her. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was brilliant. I didn't necessarily see the significance of her changing the deviant into a tree, because it's just like she could change things from like different states.
She said she couldn't.
She can't change life. Yeah, she could only do it.
Was it okay?
Yeah.
So
that's
the first. She took
okay.
a sentient creature and turned it into an.
I must have been mid air. When someone said that.
It's hard to get the nuance when your popcorn's getting wet.
Yeah, all over my face.
And there's an action prod in your backside.
Oh man, it's terrible. But okay,
Richard Madden as Icarus.
She's great. What I was just going to say about Cersei, great. Like kind of like, and like, I really like the way she kind of was becoming the leader, and like kind of she's like how Ajax had obviously had become has empathized with human beings and stuff like that, like, and she obviously knew that like Cersei would have kind of felt the same or something. But I just think as a leader, and then like that created a dynamic within the Eternals was really good. But she was awesome. She was awesome in it. I'm really excited to see more of her.
Yeah, I enjoyed her a lot. The Salma Hayek as Ajax,
cool.
as Ajax. Sorry, Salma Hayek as Ajax.
Ajax.
That scene she has on the ranch where she's like, I've watched these people and I see something special here. Like, when I say I wanted more of her, I wanted more of that linear journey for the character. Maybe that's the problem with this for me, is I have 10 characters who I genuinely want to see their stories develop, and instead I get snippets of it. And
you mix up faces, so it's hard for you to track that. It's not even a joke. It probably is harder for you to track that.
I just saw her. I saw no journey for Salma Hayek in this movie. She just showed up, was maternal, and then wasn't around anymore. And I'm like, cool.
Well, I got the impression.
I got the
impression though like again, just kind of going off the characters, but I got the impression that Ajax kind of obviously she knew the whole plan, and she I got the impression that she purposely separated herself from the rest of them so they could just live their lives freely and like kind of like she wouldn't get involved.
No, I think she wanted them to develop the affinity for these people that she had by separating them from each other, getting them out of the ghetto that was the Eternals, where they stayed in their own little bubble.
But she even says that. She says, "I want to see you, and I want you to tell me what you've learned from these people." And she dismisses them.
Oh yeah, of course.
She's trying to make them as empathetic to humans as she is.
She's the healer. She's the mother, and we didn't. But it feels like we don't spend enough time with her because it's not.
No.
Presented in one.
But I did like her character.
Way.
Yeah. I thought when I saw Simon Hayek riding the horse in kind of the Western gear, I was like, oh cool, we're gonna see like the Western period, but we didn't. No. That was modern day.
You love cowboys for you.
I do love Westerns, but no, I just like, okay, so Cersei, really, really cool. Icarus, he's awesome, and I like the way, I kind of like the way at the end of the day, like I do respect him in the sense of like, this was our objective, and this is why we were created, and this is like the plan.
He's the zealot,
and it's just kind of like it's like it's like he's a good bad guy.
He plays both sides so well though. Like he cuts a great figure as the Superman,
the hero.
When he steps out of the shadows, he's a great hero, and then he's also terrifying when he turns, because it's like he's the last guy. Like they're all terrified of him. None of them, like King goes to the great line where he says, it's Icarus. Even if I help you, we'll still lose. And Madden sells that because he's like, yeah, he's right, because he's terrifying.
Yeah. And I love the way like, I love when Kingo said to Icarus like, man, I'm with you to the end. You know me. And then it's just like, oh well, you don't know me at all, or something like that. Like, and then he literally has the same conversation with Ajax. Like, it's cool. I like the kind of like the guys who are loyal to the cause or to whatever, but the conflict.
I also want to say one of the things that we see in Neil Gaiman's Eternals,
I think,
is
Gaiman. Yeah.
Shit. One of the things we see in Neil Gaiman's Eternals is, I think it is Icarus, or it might be Makari, gets completely obliterated. And then we cut back to the spaceship, and they just do a reboot of a backup drive into a new body. And he comes out, and part of it is a mindset reset. He comes back from like, oh shit, I've been corrupted these last 100 years. I'm reset to my good state. We're on the same page again. So I don't put it past this franchise here to just
he can come back if he's popular.
Yeah, there's like, your memories are saved. The Eternals have fucking Arishem took them away to show where their memories will tell whether or not what they did was justified. He'll have Icarus's memories backed up. He'll just stick it in a new unit, and out we come.
But yeah, Icarus, awesome. Really, really liked him.
Mind weary?
His powers.
Mad weary?
Mad weary? Yeah.
Mad weary? I am mad weary.
I know.
I didn't dig that at all.
But that's a Kirby. That's a Kirby.
Is that
it's goofy Kirby
mad
stuff.
Weary. Okay.
Oh yeah, Unimind Kirby.
It's spelled like M''HDW''R''Y or something like that.
Right. He was tired dropping cigar ash on the page. No, like, that's a letter.
Is no worse than Gom Jabbar or Duncan, Idaho. So
I saw somebody make the argument.
Gets a pass.
I saw somebody make the argument that Duncan, Idaho is the equivalent of taking the oldest name in recorded human history and the oldest place we can think of. So the example they gave was like Gilgamesh, Babylon. Like, if you met someone today called Gilgamesh, Babylon, it would sound weird and exotic. So Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is we're not in the future hearing it. We're right now hearing it, and that's what matters.
Yeah, so call him Gilgamesh, Babylon, if that's the case.
Yeah, exactly.
But Icarus, cool, really, really well. How do you say? articulated. You know, his powers, the eyes, all that kind of stuff.
He was there was a few ropey VFX shots where he flew off into the distance, but for the most part, like the way he rose up,
that was
like probably the last 2 or 3 podcasts you've heard me mention being
this is
shittily
all we
lifted
want
from
from
the
a
hips of
Superman.
the cable. You know, when a cable you see somebody get hoisted by the groin, you see that moment where they slightly rock forward and try and correct.
Yeah.
And that wasn't there in this. He just goes whoomph up, and it was like, this is great, up and turn and away, and it's like they nailed it. They nailed flying in this character. There's 1 or 2 shots where they clearly didn't spend as much time on it, but
there's 1 or 2 shots where it's the Blade 2 thing where it's fully CG human bodies, and it's like, but like when they're fighting, Tina and Icarus, there's a shot where they're fighting and they're both CGI, and it's not just the head replacement; they're both like rubber banding bodies. It's like, why?
Oh, I didn't even notice that, to be honest. I think the weakest part of special effects in this movie was just the odd time something went into warp speed.
When the domo flew away in that last shot, that was a flashier emotion tween. It's just like,
yeah, very strange. Tina, with the suffering from the mad weary, awesome.
It occurs to me watching
Angelina
this.
Jolie was so badass in it.
It occurred to me watching this.
She was a great choice for it because she's so odd. She plays like, especially when you get the sense that I think I saw a clip where the cast are trying to do a staring contest with her.
That's exactly
and
as
they
well.
all lose.
At what point did she
I think that's it. Is
statue?
Exactly. That was perfect for the character as well, as that she unsettles the rest of them just a little bit.
Yeah.
Even before she lost her mind with the mad weary.
Yes, that's totally the
perfect.
vibe they should give. They should have been given Wolverine.
Angelina Jolie unsettles the rest of that cast.
Yeah.
It is that thing where it's like it's like, what is it in Archer? It's like having an ocelot in the room. Babu.
You fox-haired asshole. Yeah, she's great. She's barely in it, but when she's in it, she's great.
But I was watching her when she gave Cersei that like pep talk at the end. I was going, I have forgotten what your voice was before you decided you're a posh English lady.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to go back to Hackers and see what the hell she sounded like, or watch Cyborg 2, was it? Like, what did she sound like before she decided she was a...
But I think that's just for this character.
I don't know. I mean, I think I got to go back and look at, like, she definitely used that voice in Maleficent and probably The Tourist. And
but it makes sense for
those roles.
It makes sense for Tina.
Yeah. I want to go back and find what the hell does she actually sound like. Kumail Nanjiani.
He's great.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. That dance scene, his introduction with that dance scene and stuff, and he's like, I'm playing Icarus. You like the like, oh my god.
He loved Icarus so much.
Karun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kingo was as much Tinkerbell as Sprite.
I love that he's still I love that we have this shot of him with his fucking guns, and he's got his eyebrows and he's like fixing his hair and stuff, and then the first thing we hear him kind of say is like, he just goes, ah! he just makes Kumail Nanjiani noises when he sees them for the first time. And it like he's so happy to break that illusion of, you know, here I am with these fucking ridiculous arms, and then the first thing he does, he just makes this noise, you know, and it was hilarious.
I like Kumail, and I have since he had a podcast called The Indoor Kids with Emily, his wife, and they just played video games. And one of the, like, I don't know if you guys ever listen to any of that, but like I remember listening to the podcast where they're like, listen, we've got a chance to write a feature film script and we love this, but we've decided we need to focus on what we actually want to achieve in this industry, so we're going to go write scripts. And since then it's been The Big Sick and The X-Files and Silicon Valley and Eternals. Like, they've gone from strength to strength since they focused on what they want to do. And
Why did they write the Eternals?
No, but like in terms of Kumail's acting career and Emily's writing career, they've gone off in leaps and bounds
it's done well.
since they,
Yeah.
like even he was a recurring on Harmontown, Dan Harmon's podcast, and he was so fucking funny. Like I liked that Harmontown podcast. It had its ups and downs. They went on tour at one point, and that's an episode a night for 10 nights. They just recorded every episode, and you can tell that they just get drunk and start repeating themselves, and it's like, woof, this is a bit rough. But the Kumail era stuff, he's just a fucking sniper. He just sits there and then just says something fucking hilarious. And
his character was badass. His powers are badass. The thing where he asked Sprite to distract the deviant so he can charge it. Yeah, and he lands underneath it. He lands underneath it and bang, and then just all the blood all over his face.
You know that moment where he basically is doing Hadouken, charging a fireball in that opening sequence. You know he's channeling Street Fighter. Like he's that guy.
Yeah.
I was a little bit like, he just fucked off at the end.
Yeah.
He just pieced out and said, "You guys handle this. I'm going back to Bollywood."
But it made sense
I think
for him.
he figured that.
He's like, I'm siding with him, but I'm not going to fight you either. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was just weird to
like,
see one of the guys go, "I'm out,"
But I like that's what I was going to say. It's like I like the kind of how this kind of group dynamic changed in terms of like some of them kind of like wanting to follow through with the Celestia's plan, and then some of them kind of fighting against it, and then other ones being like, well, I think we should follow through the plan, and I love you guys enough not to fight you. Like it was good dynamics, and it kind of like it was more realistic, I think.
I want to just one cast member that I saw in the credits, and even looking at on this bloody list of the cast, I'm like, I'm still not entirely clear who this was. Bill Skarsgård is in this movie.
Deviant.
He was the deviant.
He's the lead deviant.
Crow, yeah.
That's a waste of time for Bill Skarsgård, isn't it? Other than just whatever money comes with being in the credits. Like, you can't tell it's him from the voice. He's clearly not in a costume. But what a waste of time. Other than he gets to say he's in Eternals. But, oof. Barry Keoghan.
Yeah, but you never know. Judy, yeah, I liked them. Initially I didn't really, but you're not really meant to. But as the movie went on and stuff, loved him. Thought he was great. And even when at the end when Pip and Star Fox or Eros comes in, he's like, "How you lads?" or "What's up, lads?" or something. It's just like, ha, that's brilliant. So funny.
I think he had an important moment as well. Is that like what really kind of moves the film a bit is when they're disbanded, and it's his outburst is what prompts Ajax to disband them, because he's saying, "I've had enough of this," and it's his compassion. They want us to think that maybe he's evil or he's behind this because he's got mind control powers.
Yeah.
But the truth is he's tired of the suffering, and
Yes,
I think he
and
sells that
wants help.
moment. He sells that's the first time he kind of has kind of any major speaking lines other than like one or two lines of dialogue, and he sells that moment quite well. And then when he shows up in the Amazon, he was great as well.
Yeah, I thought he was cool, and then his apparent relationship with Macari was fun.
Sprite was
he
great.
Liam
McHugh. Sorry, I'm bouncing too quickly.
I was just gonna say, I hope like we see more of Juig and the rest of them and stuff like that. Like, but as you said, Aidan, yeah, you want to see more of them. But his whole thing of just being in Amazon with the people was awesome. Like, it's kind of like it makes sense that he goes somewhere that's like untouched by time. It was a cool kind of little thing. But yes, Macari. Oh no, you said Sprite.
Sprite. She just looked like the Romita drawings, like crazy proportions, big head, little slender body. Played it great. Not much to say.
Terrible
Carried
mistake.
off the.
Well, no, I was gonna say it's a terrible her pining for Icarus the whole time is like sad, and the fact that she was basically stuck in a child's body is brutal. She
And that's the thing, like
made the wrong choice.
that the emotion of that should land harder, and it doesn't, unfortunately, because we only know that because Kinko tells us. It could have done with that should be a big moment, because
Yeah.
she's been friends with Cersei all this time, but she loves Icarus. So even if she was able to, rein in or control her jealousy, it's still there, it still exists. And when he dies at the end, it should land harder, because the reason, her entire reason for siding against him is because of her love for him. And she says herself, that, you remind me of all the things that, or the humans remind me of all the things that I didn't know I wanted. And rather than saying that at the end, we should see that a bit more earlier on. Not because it detracted from me, but it should land harder than it does. I think they sell it. I think they sell it when they say it, but those should be bigger emotional moments. They should register a bit bigger, because they are big. And yeah, it's not that they fell flat, but it's just they should stick with you as an audience a bit more than they do, I think.
Don Lee as Gilgamesh. That guy is so likable.
Yeah.
Like, I just discovered him in Train to Busan. And there's just something about him that you just like him.
Some woman behind me at the cinema very loudly said he looks too much like Wong, and I just wanted to eject her from the cinema. She was just like, "Oh, this is stupid. He looks and sounds too much like Wong." I was like, "Shut the fuck up and get out." And never, you shouldn't be allowed outdoors. Just go away.
Yeah, fuck her.
Terrible. And she talked throughout the entire movie, and it was so frustrating. She just
it's so redundant. Like, if she's
she had a running commentary on the whole film.
How do you? I would have just. I don't know, man. I can't do that stuff anymore. I have no patience. I'd rather be in 4D than have to listen to that. But Don Lee was brilliant.
He's great.
Really, really, really good. Like, so sweet, and I loved him. And but Jesus Christ, there was a moment where I think they were on the ship, and he put his hand out to hold Tina's hand, and that guy's hand is like the bloody Hulk's. It's huge. I can totally see why that guy was. Well, you said, Brian, he was a boxer before. I would be terrified. I'd be terrified if that man tried to shake my hand. Like, I don't know if you saw his hands. They were like, I've never seen hands look so bloody intimidating before.
Do you want another example of my face blindness?
Yeah.
So we're watching the credits, and I see Bill Skarsgård's name, and I'm like, where the fuck was Bill Skarsgård? And then we get the post-credit scene, and in walks Eros, and I went, oh, there's Bill Skarsgård.
Oh, fair.
And then I listen, as the whole thing ended, somebody next to me got up and said, fucking Harry Styles. And I went, oh, it's Harry Styles. I got that wrong. What's going on with my eyes, guys?
Get your glasses sorted, or just, people just look the same. It's like there's billions of people in the world. They can't all have like striking differences in their faces. Everybody looks the same.
Those two
Don
could
Lee,
be the same person, right?
Epic as Gilgamesh. No, epic as Gilgamesh. He was awesome. Really, really kind of sad arc between himself and Tina. But I think he lived a good life, just making his own beer and eating pies. Living the dream.
I mentioned the concept of everybody being reincarnated there, but like, as much as that is a possibility with these characters, I really hope they don't. Like, stakes matter in these things. Like, if a character dies, let them be dead. Yeah. Problem is, I enjoyed Icarus. Would like to see more of him punching shit. I think he could be he's a good superheroic presence in the world. But I wouldn't. Yeah.
Also, let this be proof that it's time to give Cyclops his due on screen. Cyclops would be a cool character. Laser eyes are fucking cool, and
yeah, true.
How they've made him suck through so many films is a waste of a great character.
Yeah, like basically just get like more.
He's Captain America with laser eyes.
He's Captain America with laser eyes.
But but he's a little bit more kind of like has a chip on his shoulder or something. Like Captain America is a little like he's Captain America
so.
with a dash of has a bit of a chip on his shoulder.
I don't think he does.
I think rather than say chip on a shoulder, it's more a part of a put upon minority group. You know, it's not that he has a chip on a shoulder; it's that he's fighting for recognition as a minority group. You know, he's got a very specific and valid agenda. Have we been through everybody? We've got Fastos as well.
No, we haven't. No, we have Fastos and Makari. Fastos was awesome. I really like Fastos, and
if you haven't watched Atlanta yet, watch Atlanta. He's so good in Atlanta. Brian Tyree Henry, he's a great actor.
I was going to say his performance in this is probably one of the strongest in the movie.
Yeah,
I thought he was very, very good. I thought he was really, really good. I guess there's aspects of this being review bombed.
Oh my god, he's Paperboy. I didn't twig that.
I'm gonna put that down to your
very good
Blindness.
Just a vastly different character than I've seen.
Have you watched
play.
Atlanta, Kev?
Yeah, I watched some episodes with you.
Yeah, Atlanta's cool.
Watch it. He's great. He's a great actor.
I mostly don't like. I do absorb people's names eventually, but like there's a lot of me just watching things going, this is the character, and you know eventually I don't care about the actor or their fucking personal lives for the most part. You know, it does get absorbed over time, but like I will just watch Atlanta and go like, I don't know who anybody is in that show. You know, I know Donald Glover because I got there through Community and whatnot, and I learned Lakeith Steinfeld's name from everything else he's been in since, but I just haven't seen Brian Tyree Henry in anything other than Atlanta, so he's just in my head. He's Paperboy.
Fastos was cool. I really liked the idea, and I liked how they kind of had to like rein him in every now and then, be like, these people are not ready for steam power and stuff. And then when he was sitting in Hiroshima, wasn't it? And he was just in tears. Oh my god, like it's so sad.
Makari was great. Speed powers are great. Singer kick ass at super speed.
They did that really well.
Awesome. Lauren Ridloff was awesome. She just very, very charismatic. Just lights up the screen. So great. More of that. More of people talking with sign language in films.
So this, and then there's Harish Patel, who was Kingo's valet.
Karun.
He was funny.
He was great.
Yeah. Crow was a dead end.
Yeah, Crow sucked. That design, Jesus Christ. Just, what was that? Fucking iRobot bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm so done with it.
It was definitely some John Romita
done with it
thing, but I kind of
it's
touched
not,
on this
it's
idea
not, it's not
earlier.
so much the design aesthetically, it's the execution and everything. It's just, ugh. No more of that. Done with it.
Do you think that this, I guess I'll have to start taking note of it, but this sort of visual effects decision around the monsters is something that gets landed on directors that don't do a lot of VFX work? And they're just a little bit like, yeah, that looks cool.
No, I'm not blaming
They see
directors
the complexity
anymore
and the flashiness. No, I don't blame the director. I blame the visual effects, like whoever the concept artist or whoever the VFX supervisor is that thinks this is good and makes the case for it. I think it's directors that don't have, again, not blaming them, but like I know that there's people who, the Russo brothers would know enough to go, fuck that, you know, because they know their VFX a bit better, you know. I think it's just trusting the guy making your visual effects, but not having the
I don't think it's an experience thing. I think it's just that they maybe put their focus elsewhere and they just trust them to do it, as opposed to.
But that's it, you know. They.
But I think it's more that it's hands
trust
off, as opposed to
they're trusting someone else's taste there.
Yeah, but I think it's even more.
Film.
I think it's even a bit more hands off. you know, it's not a case of them signing off on the thing. It's just that, like, I'm giving this to you, and, you know.
Right.
Because, you know, it's always such a rush to get these things finished. There's certain decisions you just got to actually say, you know what, I can't really put my time and energy into this because I've got this, I've got this scene is a fucking nightmare, or we've been shooting for 10 hours and we still haven't got this thing. So yeah, you're just going to have to fucking take care of that. And you just got to let go of some decisions.
It was such a dead end though, the deviant stuff. You know, like it didn't really even come to fucking anything. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought as he absorbed the Eternal's powers and became more and more human, I was wondering, was it going to like end up that this was a corrupted Eternal that we were going to see? Trying to like in that Star Trek thing with Idris. Do you remember when, like, what was that third one where like you realize that after absorbing all this shit that like he's a completely corrupted human and he's trying to revert to his initial state. Okay, well, the post-credit scenes then, I think we've got a lot of mileage out of this. The Eros and Pip thing, did you like that? Mm-hmm. It seemed very... I don't know if these are falling flat for me because I had such an awareness for all of the post-credit scenes that were, you know, like here's Thor's hammer and here's Cap in the ice and here's, you know, that it led to that first generation stuff. Seeing Eros walk onto that ship, I don't know what Eros opens up, so I'm not excited for it. You know, I think
that's why I'm excited for it, because I don't know what it leads to. The fact that they so explicitly said, yeah, this is Thanos' brother, and he's an Eternal himself. So is Thanos in it? Like, what does that mean about Titan? Was everybody on Titan in Eternal, or was Titan ruled by Eternals? It's expanding. It's changing what we know about the established cinematic universe. So I'm excited to see what that means.
Yeah, I mean, like there was that concept art from way back with the Eternals next to the Titan people. Is it brother in a sort of more broad sense? I hope they do another pass on Pip. He looked a little soft for my liking. Looked like a cartoon in the world. Like Rocket looks real. Pip doesn't. And then the last thing was Richard Madden opening that sword box.
Kit Harington
opened up the box. That was interesting.
Sorry, I think you find it's Jamie Dornan. If he comes into the Marvel universe, I'm fucked because I will not be able to tell any of these people apart. I already think Jamie Dornan looks like Henry Cavill.
I can see that.
I think Jamie Dornan's career got absolutely fucked by the 50 Shades of Grey thing. I think he was on a run after Siege at Yatterville and The Fall, and that getting tied into that 3-film franchise of garbage.
He'll be back.
And Wild Mountain Time. I'm hoping Belfast from Branagh gets such critical... I hope it gets a critical success enough to sort of lean him back into things. I think he's Henry Cavill pre-working out for Superman.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Blade.
So you think that voice at the end of that was Mahershala Ali?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was Samuel L. Jackson, but that's because I have voice blindness.
Yeah, so did that lady behind me, and I wanted to slap her.
Well, it's because we're used to Samuel L.
It sounds nothing
up.
like him. Why wouldn't they show him if it was him? It sounded nothing like Samuel L. Jackson. He's got a very distinct voice.
But it was daylight. Why would... Oh, no, he's a daywalker. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's Blade.
You think it's Blade?
It's Blade. It's
Blade,
100%
Blade. Was
Blade.
British. Wasn't Blade British in the comics?
Was Blade British in the comics?
Pretty sure.
I don't think he's playing him British.
It's becoming clear that we're wandering into the area of comics that I know dick all about as we extend to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Not only did I think it was Blade, Zhao has confirmed it's Blade. So it's Blade. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see the Black Knight.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm gonna do. I think I'm going to add some Black Knight comic stuff to my Morbius read.
Is this sword connected to Thor: Love and Thunder?
I have no notion how.
Oh, okay.
This is the area of comics that we're wandering into. I do not know what the hell this could be.
Very well. Okay then.
All right. That's the Eternals. We waited 2 years additionally for it.
Was it really 2 years?
It's probably is it an additional year?
I will say the costumes look fine while they're standing still or kind of moving, but up close it just looks like they're wearing a rash vest with molded bits of plastic on it, and I didn't like it. Seeing the wrinkles the fabric underneath the thing, like, looks bad. When they're standing and posing from a distance, it looks good. Yeah.
If that's still Ironhead, like, they need to revisit some of this plastic stuff that they're getting too heavily reliant on. Like, even though
it really looks like a rash vest with.
Yeah.
He's got the blue rash vest. She's got the red rash vest. She's got the green one, and then just bits of rubber on it, and it didn't work. If it's up close,
when I went into the cinema, I saw a poster for Shang-Chi again, and I just remember I was thinking, how convenient is it that this style of shirt that seems to be something that they're issuing to a lot of people in this village just stops above the forearm where he has 10 rings, you know? And I know that's like a minor thing, but like, it would have been nice if it was just a little more naturally, like, give him a shirt and either like tear that off, cut it off, roll them up the sleeves or something. Just make it just look a little more naturally clothed, you know? I don't know what my critique is there. It has to be on a case-by-case basis. They're space alien soldiers sent. For them to be wearing something akin to a kind of spacesuity armor thing kind of makes sense. But for Shang-Chi, which is just sort of local wear of a Chinese-style village, I just thought it looked a bit odd that it's such a sort of fixed superhero-y kind of look. I guess case-by-case is the way to go. Like, Hawkeye's stuff looks like a jumpsuit. Though I guess it's gotten less so by the time he was Nomad. So what's out next week? What are we talking about next week?
Ronin.
What?
I said Ronin. You said Nomad.
What? Oh, sorry. Nomad is Captain America when he went rogue. Apologies. Ronin. Did I do an out of 10 for this movie? I'm going 6 out of 10.
2 thumbs up. 1 thumbs up. 1 or 2 thumbs up. Go see it. It's good. It's nowhere near as bad as people are saying. It's at least as good as Dune, depending on your taste for sci-fi. It is at least as good as Dune.
Yeah, I think like 8.5 out of 10. Like, I don't see any issues with it, really. Like, kind of, it's not perfect, but it's by no means as bad as Thor 2. Even though Thor 2 isn't that bad upon revisiting it, but like, so I love it. Like, more of it.
It's better than Guardians 2.